Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Nick Tasso breaking down Tuesday's pitching options. Overall, this is kind of a weird but fun slate. You got 14 games. I don't think there's any elite must-play option, but there's a lot of guys with upside.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's no like high-priced guy like Kershaw that really stands out. It's kind of guys who are in decent spots but are priced kind of nicely. So I kind of don't mind rostering. There's a lot of starters on this slate, so I kind of don't mind. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think when you look at the top guys, I mean, Sonny Gray's priced up there, but I think deservingly so. Madison Bumgarner, who we'll talk about. I think Gray, if you're paying up, I think he might be my guy that I'll be looking at.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I really can go Italian at that price tag on DraftKings, but Gray is definitely on my list.
Yeah, Gray's been really good this year, going up against a Toronto team that's just been struggling. I know they go back home, but I think this is an offense that still gives up plenty of upside to opposing pitchers. And just the way Gray's pitched, I mean, I think he's also auditioning for a way out of Oakland, too.
Yeah, absolutely. 1.62 ERA over his past 5 starts. And you also look at Toronto. You said that going back to Rogers Center is going to benefit them, but they really haven't done well there. They're in the bottom 3 in the league in runs scored at home this year. So even though they have a lot of name value in their guys, unfortunately, if you get past, say, Donaldson and really Batista, I think Gray really should have a nice night.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Blue Jays 25th in WOBA against righties, 21% strikeout rate. I like Gray. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. I will say that. I think he's about $1,000 too expensive, but I don't mind him.
Yeah, but then that might lower ownership rate a little bit. So for GPPs, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Moving on, we'll talk Mike Clevenger. You and I both agree on here. Really good option. Been really good this year. Gets an Angels offense that just really continues to struggle. And even though Angels don't strike out a ton, Clevenger's actually been a really good strikeout guy this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at him 4 straight, 20 or more points on DK, so he's really locked in. Like you said, he's getting the strikeouts, which really helps. So even if he doesn't get the win, but here he's in a really good matchup, good chance for a win. And like you said, even though they don't strike out a lot, they really don't do much on offense, which might limit the damage that he allows.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Trout, he's the only guy that I'm really concerned about in this lineup. I think the Cameron Maybin injury is bigger than people realize. Angels, I mean, over the last 30 days, they're dead last in WOBA. They're 29th in WOBA against righties, 25th in ISO against righties. This is just a lineup that I think Clevenger can get through, and I'm kind of glad that Clevenger is not priced in over 10K, because I think if he was any more expensive, I'd probably be off of him.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Clevenger is priced pretty nicely, so I don't mind utilizing him. Who knows, maybe you can stack them with another top price starting pitcher. It just depends on roster construction.
Yep. We'll go to Madison Bumgarner, guy that you're looking at. This is where we start to differ.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it is Madison Bumgarner. He doesn't have much to really go off of this year due to the injury, but he does have a 2.97 ERA against Pittsburgh in his career. And then at home, he's even been better, 2.78. And I know you're concerned about his swinging strikes and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's still Pittsburgh, and that ballpark definitely is going to benefit him.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not going to doubt that he's going to go out there and have a quality outing. I think 6 innings, is what you're going to be looking, 6+, I think the strikeouts, he's still priced up enough where I want the strikeouts. I just didn't like what I saw against San Diego. He had a swing strike rate of less than 6% in both starts. I don't know if he's still working his way back. This is still a Pittsburgh offense that doesn't strike out a ton against lefties, just 18.9%. They're middle of the road in about everything else. But I guess just my concern was if he couldn't rack up a ton of strikeouts against San Diego, who lead the league in strikeouts against lefties. I don't know if it's quite going to be there against Pittsburgh, but those are just kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I'm kind of harking on the 240 average by against lefties this year for Pittsburgh, so I don't think that they're really going to do much. I know they're a little bit different now with Marte back, but at the end of the day, I think Bumgarner, since he's under 10K, I think he is priced really well, and it's hard to really pass on him, for me at least.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think the floor is still there. I mean, and as you said, I think the price is actually appropriate for what he's been doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he hasn't really had a good game all year that you would put him in that upper echelon kind of territory. But again, he hasn't had many starts, so I think eventually he'll get there.
Yep, no, I definitely agree. Houston, Charlie Morton. This guy's my favorite option actually on the slate. Going up against a Phillies offense that's been awful against righties this year. Morton's just one of those guys where he's been kind of quiet of late, but 10.4% swinging strike rate, 25% strikeout rate this year. Gets a Phillies offense 26th in WOBA, 23.5% strikeout rate against righties. Huge road favorites. You expect a lot of production with Nick Pivetta on the other side for that offense to kind of back them up and get a win. And I just think his price is perfect. I mean, 8,800 on DK. I really like him in GPPs and in cash games.
Yeah, I don't mind him at all. I mean, he wasn't on my top 5 list, but I really don't see any issue with him. Like you said, Phillies aren't that good of an offense. A little concern I have about the ballpark, but at the end of the day, the ballpark's the ballpark, and Morton should be able to work around that. There's really no one in that offense that really scares me, so I definitely could utilize Morton, especially since he's priced so nicely.
Yeah. We'll go St. Louis. This is a team, you and I, we're both talking opposite sides on this one. I can see, the case for Lynn as well. I'll let you lead off here and give us your Lynn takes.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty good lately. His issue, especially this year, has always been the strikeouts. So I think that might give him some trouble just because if he doesn't get the strikeouts, then he's not going to have a huge night. But talking about that, the Rockies always are up there in strikeouts. I believe they're in like the top 10 right now, and they strike out a lot. So there's potential there for Lynn, and he does have 5 straight games where he's allowed 3 runs or less. So I think he's kind of locked in. It just depends on if he's going to get those strikeouts, if he's going to really pay his salary, which isn't too bad. It's kind of middle of the pack.
I'm with you. I mean, I think you look at his recent stretch of games. He hasn't faced teams that really strike out a ton anyway. The Mets, the Pirates, the Marlins. He had 7 strikeouts against Arizona, which I think you can somewhat expect. So I think that's played a little bit of factor in there. And as you said, Colorado does strike out quite a bit against right-handers. Worse off away from home, but over a 22% strikeout rate against righties. I like Lynn here. Colorado right around a 4 run total. I think the price is really attractive on this slate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't feel super safe for him because, like you said, and I said the strikeouts are an issue, but recently he hasn't had good opponents to get too many strikeouts. So hopefully he kind of rebounds like that outing with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, there's a lot of righties in this lineup. I mean, Blackman's the lefty that you got to worry about. Carlos Gonzalez is the other one, and we kind of know how Carlos Gonzalez' season's going.
Bad.
Yeah, so I don't mind Lynn there.
Yep. And then you had John Gray, Sonny's brother.
Yeah, John Gray's an intriguing GPP arm for me tonight, but only GPP. This is a guy who misses bats. He's going to probably face about 6 to 7 righties in this lineup and also the pitcher spot. I think there's some strikeout upside. This Cardinals offense is kind of boomer bust. They're 13th in WOBA, 15th in ISO. I know Matt Carpenter was out of the lineup on Monday. If he's out, that's obviously a huge lefty that's out of their lineup. You just look at the right-handers. I mean, they have 25% strikeout rate. John Gray induces a ton of soft contact, around a 30% strikeout rate against righties. I just think he's one of those guys that's going to probably go a little bit overlooked. And he's kind of boomer bust, which, given the fact that people don't like to take the risk at times, I think he's that perfect guy to kind of go out there and lead your way to a GPP lineup or two.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. My only issue is just his price tag being kind of sandwiched in between Clevenger and Morton. I kind of like those guys a little bit better, but I can definitely see why you would go towards John Gray. Is a good matchup, especially if Carpenter's not in. So I think he has potential, especially in GPPs. I'd probably roster him just because not a lot of people are going to be on him with a 6 ERA. So I definitely put him in.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Morton's right there in price, and Clevenger as well, who've been much more consistent and kind of bring similar upside.
Yeah, so you're going to get a pretty low ownership, in my opinion, on him.
Yep. Moving on, you're taking a look at Seth Lugo, 7,700. He's quietly kind of gone through a nice little stretch here.
Yeah, absolutely. My concern is just kind of going long enough in the game and kind of getting enough strikeouts to really pay it off. But he is priced kind of nicely. I don't mind him. It is San Diego. Like you said earlier, strikes out a bunch. So I kind of don't mind rostering him. It's just kind of it's going to be roster construction.
Yeah, I think he fits kind of nicely as an SP2. You look at this San Diego team, against righties, that's where you like to target them. They're bottom five in WOBA, 25% strikeout rate. So it gives Lugo a bit of a bump in terms of a floor and ceiling, in my opinion. I think he can be kind of a strikeout per inning guy tonight.
Yeah, I think the way he's priced too, I think he's going to go overlooked because you got guys like Lynn there. You have Kenta, Medea, and even Pomeranz. I know you like him, so there's going to be a pretty low ownership, I think, in that area.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is kind of where I think it's an interesting slate because, Pomeranz are there. Jacob Faria, who I'll talk about. There's some intriguing, really 7, 8, 6K range guys that I don't think are bad options.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, a lot too when selecting pitchers is just waiting and see what the lineup's going to be and what they're facing and who potentially might be out. So there's a lot of options.
Yeah, there is. And touch on Faria real quick. 12% swing strike rate, 23% strikeout rate. Walks have not been an issue. He's a really young arm, and he's been really tough on right-handers. Allowed a 279 WOBA this year with a 25% strikeout rate. And kind of always the theme here is you pick guys that are tough on right-handers against Baltimore, and they usually do pretty well. He's a decent favorite. Reynolds minus 150 at Tropicana. And I think he's actually priced really nicely and has some strikeout upside.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly what you said. Tropicana really kind of pushes him over the hill for me. I think he's in a really good spot. I think some people might be a little shying away from facing Baltimore, but when you add Tropicana into the mix, I think it definitely benefits him.
Yeah, I do too. You mentioned I do like Pomeranz. I think I'm just kind of coming with him that he's actually not going to crack my top 5, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
No, that's fine. I like Felix from that game just because he has a 1.87 home runs per 9 this year, which is pretty bad. But this Red Sox team has absolutely no power, so I'm not really concerned about the home run issue. Over his last 3 games, he's only given up 2 earned runs, got 22 strikeouts in 18 innings. So, I mean, I know it's a really short sample size, but I think the King is sort of returning back to his old form, and he's priced pretty nicely, 8,800 around there. So I kind of like him against this Red Sox team, despite Rafael Devers making his debut.
Yeah, baby, I'm ready. I'm ready for the Devers area because we've been playing without a third baseman for the last 6 months.
Well, that's fine. I mean, they're still in first place.
They are. I question how sometimes, but they are.
Just imagine if they had Travis Shaw.
Dude, I know. All right, let me get my Pomeranz takes in real quick because I still think he's in play. Quickly here. Pomeranz, I think the only bats that you worry about are Nelson Cruz, Danny Valencia. Outside of that, they're pretty average. They're 26th in ISO against lefties this year, 15th in WOBA. I go back to a start where Brian Johnson shut them out in Fenway. I think Pomeranz has actually been really consistent this year. 15 and 19 starts, he's allowed less than 30 earned runs. And he's gone 6 innings and about over 50% of his starts. He just kind of quietly gets it done. I think he's a good SP2. I won't touch him on FanDuel, but I think he's an SP2 that's probably going to be single-digit ownership just because of really all the names that we have mentioned.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That's one thing you can like on the slate because so many people are kind of in play. Everyone ownership rate is going to be low. So, I mean, Pomeranz can have those nights where he kind of goes off and Seattle's offense really isn't exciting. So it might happen.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. If you're building multiple lineups, maybe take a look. Or a late slate. If you're playing late slate, I think he's in play.
Late slate. I like the late slate.
I know you do.
Goes to sleep. And I stay up. And then once it starts and all my guys are in, I go to bed because I'm too tired. So that's how I roll.
You know what? It beats out sweating. I think napping and sleeping through games is very underrated.
Yeah, and then I just wake up in the morning, look at my phone to see if I have money or not. So that's always interesting.
Yeah, I do that on Sundays. Ever since Sunday, they split it up. There's no more 4 o'clock and on games, so it's like I set my lineup, I take a long 3 to 4 hour nap, and I wake up and see how things are going.
I can't nap. I unfortunately have something wrong with me that doesn't allow me to nap.
Dude, I feel bad for you.
I do too.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up. Favorite option, I think for me is still Morton. Who do you guys are number one?
Probably Sonny Gray, but his price tag's too much. So I'm gonna go Bumgarner just to piss you off.
All right, that's fine. I like that. So, if you want to pick a guy, who are you picking on all the way, stacking against?
That is always a fun one, but is it Jesse Chavez on there?
Boom, baby. I'm with you. He was my guy. All right.
Yeah, I know. He's not good. So.
We're thinking alike. So, all right. Wrapping it up. You can check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all the great tools and content.